Hello and welcome to what many are calling Season 2 of the Secret Hot Tub podcast, brought to you by TRDQ.org. It's very nice of people to say that because I just kind of forgot to do the podcast for a while. But let's say it's Season 2 though, because it'll make me feel better. Today we're joined by one of my favourite folks and artists. I only get to see them usually once a year at TF Nation, but it's always a highlight of the show because of their positivity, their enthusiasm, their energy, and they know Sonic the Hedgehog in real life. It's comics legend Abby Bulmer. Abby, hello.
Hello. That
How's it
was a very
going?
nice intro. It's going good, thank you. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
What's
staying warm.
yeah, it's very cold here right now. Like I bought 2 hoodies last night.
Oh, I've been tempted. I've been tempted, but I've been making do with an old dressing gown and then the Mothman onesie that I bought last year for Halloween. Just to stay warm.
Look, you're mixing with Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails.
Yeah.
You can afford it. I've seen those IDW artists rolling around in their ermine.
Yeah, at the speed of sound.
What's Sonic like in real life?
Well, I mean, you know, as a British fan, I wasn't too surprised by this, but he can be a bit of an arsehole. Like, just I mean, he's good at what he does, and he does do the right thing, but his tone. It's his tone. It's a bit
Sonic
off.
the Hedgehog is not an asshole. Okay, you British want to ruin our Sonic.
And Knuckles is pink.
Knuckles is also pink.
I genuinely have a friend that still argues with me about that, or argues in general with us about that. Like, she's like, he is red. We're like,
No,
nah, not in that,
I'll
not in that
never.
first appearance.
Yeah, I don't have any dog in the fight either. Like I couldn't give a shit, but he's pink.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
pink.
I think we all sort of present that mask, don't we, in society? I think if Sonic, I'd like to think Sonic would be above, being an asshole, but he
Yeah.
doesn't have the guts to truly be himself. Not like Shadow.
No, no, Shadow's. That guy is. He's
So
just
cool.
honest. He's just honest.
He's such an
Yeah,
individual. That's what I love about him.
yeah. Roll out of Hot Topic one day. Just. Do you remember Hot Topic when that was a thing?
Oh, I'm
The
glad I missed
Americans
out
would
on all that.
the Americans would talk about it to me, and I'd think, "Oh, that sounds amazing. I want to go there."
And then now you find these are all things that are we may have missed out on, but there's some good in that too. I almost
Yeah.
got a Slipknot tattoo at one point in my life. Can you imagine if we're sitting here right now and I've got a
Oh,
Slipknot S on my wrist or something?
yeah, but I don't know. Like, I'm kind of getting to the age where I sort of think that being cringy about things isn't worth it anymore. And I'm like, maybe I would have
Yeah.
liked it if I'd done that thing when I was younger. And yeah, maybe there'd be an embarrassing story to it, but also I would have lived my life honestly,
instead of this lie.
The lie. Well, I had a little phase where I was trying very hard to sort of go, I am grown up now. I'm out of Sonic fandom.
Hmm.
I'm an adult and I draw my own things.
Yeah.
And now I look back and think, I wish I'd kept doing fan art for all those years. You know.
Uh, but things like that. I think fan art and it's easy. It was easier to look down on it a good couple of years ago, but now it's
Yeah.
like it's just a thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice to see it come back because I remember, you'd have teachers or teachers terrible in particular, was so scathing about things, and especially once you got to college and university,
Hmm.
um, there's a point where you're supposed to be exploring different art styles and thoughts, and I mean, yeah, you shouldn't just stick to drawing one thing all the time, but a teacher should be seeing the thing that you're excited about and finding a way to use that excitement and push it
Yeah,
further
feed
rather
that
than
passion. Like
yeah.
maybe try and do Big the Cat in pastels this time.
Yeah, not just or maybe, experiment with in 3D and
Yeah,
get a little
let's do.
animation in there as well.
Yeah, do pointillism. Do a Vector the crocodile.
Ah,
You know.
see, I'd go to this gallery. I'd be walking through this exhibition and I would get it.
Well, I mean, I'm still learning this podcast game, right? Because I
Mm,
haven't. I'm like we jumped right into this, and I'm like, we should really, because people might be listening to this and going, Gavin, what's this got to do with toys? You're a toy review channel. And I'm like, no, at this point, I'm like, I just want to have this podcast be something that's a bit more about the adjacent things to
Mhm.
the stuff we all like. Because, like when we go to TF Nation and we chat, I don't think we've
Yeah.
ever spoken about Transformers. Like,
Probably not, other than me, like, asking you about stuff you've got on sale, and going, "Give
yeah,
me that badge. I want that
yeah,
badge now, please."
that's it. But I'm not like, because when I said to you about, oh, yeah, at the end of the show, we'll talk about who your favorite Transformer is. And I
Mm.
was like, I had no clue because I don't think we always talk about other stuff.
No. That's part of
But,
why I like TF Nation so much, is that I've got so many friends there, and
mhm,
I like, we all have that combined thing of we like this thing,
mhm.
but no one feels like they have to talk about that one thing all weekend.
No,
It's like,
I mean,
it's fun to do it, it's great
yeah,
fun, but, well.
it's a good icebreaker. I've always felt people have
Yeah.
asked, how if you go to a convention like TF Nation, oh, but I'm worried that I won't know anyone. It's like you can go in there
Mm.
and just be like, is that fucking Hound?
Yeah.
I love Hound. And, that's you. You've made friends already.
That's it. I've literally seen people at the bar walking past someone playing with a toy in a seat, and they stop, go back, and say, "Oh,
Oh,
that's a great one, that is." And it's you'd think it was like a bother, but it's such a positive experience. And I had
yeah,
a friend who went there years ago, and she was kind of the only person buying trans metal Beast Wars.
right.
And she was going from store to store, and each stall was going, "Yeah, I've got loads of those. I've got a great big bag under the table. Have a knock yourself out." And you'd think, with that, maybe people would be really. That's the one thing maybe people would be jerks about walking around the bar. But people were stopping, going, "Have you bought some trans metals? Cool, let's have a look." That's
Yeah,
interesting. It
because
was
even
great.
at that, they're like, someone might be like, I would never buy that, but
Mm,
I still want to have a shot of it. Give me a go of that.
exactly.
Give me a go of that toy.
Exactly, yeah, it's great, and they were just, "I've never seen that. Whoa,
Yeah.
the shiny new strange thing."
Then walking away going, shit, I'm into transmetals now.
You just never know, do you?
Honestly,
Especially
like,
toys.
there's no bad Transformers, really. You
Nah,
know,
nah, it's
I love
just
them all.
we had a friend, bring his son for the first time to the Minicon
Hmm.
in Manchester last year, earlier in this year,
Yeah.
and he loved it. So his dad said, "Right, well, we'll go do one of the days in Birmingham."
Yeah.
And to see that kid's face when he walked into the hall for the first time and how big
Mm.
it was,
Yeah.
it just, honestly, it was like Christmas had just slammed into his face over and over. It was so good.
I would have, as a kid, like going to, I don't know, like John Menzies or something like that. I don't know. Is that a UK chain or is that just a Scottish thing? John
No,
Menzies.
that might be a Scottish one.
So yeah, we'd go into like somewhere like that, and it would be or W.
Mm.
H. Smith that had a toy section or something, and
Oh
that
yeah.
that was always cool. But to go into TF Nation as a kid and see this giant ballroom that's
Oh my
packed with
god, I
toys,
know.
you'd be like, I don't know what I would be. I'm kind of overwhelmed as a 42-year
Yeah.
old man when I'm in there. Never
Oh
mind
yeah,
being a
yeah.
kid. But yeah, it's so good, and it's so cool to see kids come in and get it. I'm far too
Yeah.
like soft-hearted about it. Like kids will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, Dad, look at these badges," and the dad will be like, "Yeah, cool, come on, let's go." And I'll be like, "Just take a badge, quick, just take one.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'll pay for it. I'll just put it in. I'll put the fiver in or whatever."
Oh, I'm terrible at cons when it comes to, like, working on the kids stuff, because, like, I'll just see little kids and I'll say, "Are you a fan of the Phoenix? Like,
Yeah.
do you like Doggo, who's the character I draw for them?" And you see their faces light up, and I'm like, "I'll do your free drawing." So, like, all kids now get a free Doggo drawing at my table, and I'm there all day going, "Ah!"
Why am I
Gotten
so
very
nice?
good. But you know what? It's what they all do. It is lovely to do a little
Oh,
sketch for kids.
well, like speaking of that, so obviously you are a comic artist. You work on uh, comics like, as you say, like Doggo for the Phoenix. In the
Mhm.
UK, you've done Monster Fun.
Yep.
You're doing stuff for the Sonic comics and with IDW, My Little Pony. So so when you go to Thought Bubble, like you're not like a pissant like I would be. You're a celebrity. You know.
I mean, I it's that thing where, like, I mean, it's kind of boring to hear artists talk about imposter syndrome and things like that, but I spent so much of my life, until a couple of years ago, my day job was working in a comic shop.
Yeah.
I did that for a very long time, nearly 15 years.
Wow.
And then, I always was doing some professional freelance work around the side of that. I was
Mhm.
fitting it in. So I'd go home, I'd color for 2000 AD, and then I'd maybe coloring a Tom and Jerry comic. And for a little bit, one of my first jobs was drawing a Russian version of the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Oh, wow.
It was a magazine. It was 4 pages of comic strip. You'd have it, and the magazine would flip over, so you'd have 2 pages in the front about the turtles,
Yeah.
flip it over, 2 pages at the back about Shredder and other villains.
Oh, that's cool.
And I worked on that for a few years, and it was my one of my first um, comic illustration jobs, and it was so early on now that I was still working on paper,
Yeah.
and uh,
I
and
had no
that
idea
was
about that.
that was terrifying. That was, I mean, that was a long time ago, but that was what I was doing around working at my comic shop. And so, a couple of years ago, uh, 2019, yeah, definitely 2019,
Hmm.
a friend of mine who I'd known for years, and I always loved. He's the sort of person who'd come in our comic shop and he'd say, "Hello, hello, would anyone like a coffee picking up or something? I'm off to the coffee shop." And he'd go off and he'd come back, and he was just the kind of person that you're like, if he's in today, he's
Mhm.
going to hang around and chat with us and make the day far less boring, and he's lovely.
Yeah.
And he also happened to be a cartoonist and animator, and he'd always sort of poked me a few times, said, "You should look at, it's cool that you do comics and everything. It's brilliant. Um, but oh, you should have gotten into animation years ago. That would have been great. And you should look into storyboarding." And then
Mhm.
suddenly one day he rang me out of the blue and he said, "Would you like to storyboard for us?" And
Nice.
I have. It was amazing and absolutely terrifying when I'd known exactly how my paycheck was coming each month for so
Mhm.
many years, and suddenly it's like now I have to change. Not have to, but now the
Yeah.
option is there, and to me I have to try it. I'm
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. The
nearly
opportunity's
40,
there.
and someone said, "Do you want to finally work on the career you've always wanted?" And so I
Yeah.
jumped at it. And
You
it
have
was
to, because it's so often that these things
yeah,
don't, people don't get that opportunity.
yeah, yeah.
And like I'm like personally, like when
Mm.
I graduated with my like degree in graphic design, and then I just had to get a job, and I just got a job at
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
an office,
Hmm.
because there was no, and then like my parents would be like, "Did you ever thought about doing anything in graphic design?" You'd be like,
Oh god.
"Yeah, it crossed my mind once or
Do
twice."
you
Yeah,
ever do you ever have that conversation where a parent, well-meaning, just
yeah.
goes, "Why not do a children's book? There's
Oh,
lots of those." It's like, "Hey, yeah. I mean,
like
I'm not. I can't just walk into it. I'm not Ricky Gervais, unfortunately. I can't just wave a hand at someone and say, 'Write me a children's book,' and I'll say it's mine."
yeah. Oh no,
it's,
that's it's such
it's
a hard like. Oh yeah, children's books always the one. I
yeah.
imagine like I've been asked several times by different people. I've got an idea for a kids book. Do you want to do it? And you're like,
Oh,
let's. What's the idea? And they're like, oh, it's not quite there yet. And I'm like, right, in that
oh.
case, no.
It's a conversation you kind of really don't want to have. I mean, again, it's people being excited. Like I've had
Yeah,
so many. I currently I work freelance, so I often, if I'm at home, I don't get much done. It's really hard for me to work from home.
right.
So I like going to a coffee shop or something
Hmm.
and have a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Eat a lot of cake, unfortunately. um, and I always meet really nice, interesting people, but you end up having lots of conversations where someone will lean in and say, "I had an idea for a comic book," or "I had an idea for this," and
Oh,
it's not quite the same as someone saying, "Hey, do you do commissions?" Which is like, "Oh yes, I do.
yeah,
If I've got time, I'll do commissions." But if someone says I've got an idea for this thing, this big project, I mean, it could be a cool project maybe, but it's so like it is really intimidating because
yeah,
you've just met this person, they seem really nice, but you've got all this work to do, which
yeah.
is
You're
your
not just
day
going.
job,
I'll tell
and
you what I'll do. I'll drop everything to draw this 128-page graphic novel based on this
it's
idea
always
you
something
kind
huge
of
like
have.
that.
Yeah.
No, it is. it to me is like back in school. If someone leaned over, saw me drawing, and went, "Draw me," I'd be like, "No!"
Oh no.
Like likenesses is not something I've ever liked doing, and
Oh, I
that
found
would just my
the
stomach would
ultimate.
just drop.
Yeah, no, I don't. I found the cheat code for that is to simply
Mm.
draw their hair and then just draw like a quite a plain face, and they go, "Oh yeah, that's great, that's me."
To be
But
honest, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you're just like, "Yeah,
Most
that's
people.
thanks so
My
much.
husband's
This looks
very
just
good
like."
at caricatures. He's.
Listen, I'd like. Listen, I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't even get mention of that guy on
Ah,
this
okay,
podcast.
no, no,
All
no. Well,
right,
I haven't dropped his name yet, rival podcast and all.
I don't want him riding your coattails to fame
No,
here.
no, 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 no.
Do you- so, like, when you did, like, obviously being a very talented comic artist, and the stuff you do is very personal and it's a very distinct style. But one of the things I think I like most about your work is that you're a very strong storyteller in the way that your work
Thank
flows.
you.
Do you find like when you make that leap to doing something like storyboarding, like how does that differ from like that work? Do you go, oh shit, this is easy, I know how to do this, or did it have its own challenges, or
Oh yeah, I mean, again, this ties into the whole ridiculous imposter syndrome stuff.
Mhm,
Early on, I got very caught up in, despite the excitement. I was very
mhm.
excited to get into it finally, but I would also think, oh my god, there's probably younger people who have trained exactly for this
Those
who could come
younger
in.
people, man,
I know, and they're so talented. There's so many young people that
it's
I
the
see around
worst.
me. It's the worst, and the worst thing is, my instinct is to scoop them up and push them forward and go, look at what these people can do, and I'm like, damn it, no, I needed that job.
Yeah, I've
but
got to pay the mortgage. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, as an example, so there was a little bit of lack of confidence, which is my worst issue sometimes
Okay.
is a lack of confidence. Um, and I would find that I would find one of the first things that my coworkers noticed when I was working was my supervisor would point to a screen and the composition. He'd say, "What's that big space there for to the
Yeah.
side?" And then the director, my friend, went, "It's for speech balloons, isn't it?" I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even realize." So I was doing little things like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
And another thing that my supervisor, who was an amazing cartoonist,
yeah.
absolutely brilliant, classic style stuff, but the kind of person who sort of sits there, doodles something, and you think, "How the hell did you do that, you
Yeah.
bastard?" You know. Um, but he would say, "You worry too much about the details,"
Right.
because he would say, "You're not drawing a pretty picture, you're telling the story." And
Mhm,
this is, different again from comics. You're purely telling the story and bringing across an emotion.
mhm.
This character here, even if it's just a small kids show,
Yeah.
you're making sure that the animators know what's happening,
Mhm.
what they need to do,
Yeah.
and you're inspiring them. And that, it's still something I slip back into if I'm doing storyboarding style work. If I start fussing with little things like drawing laces or marks on a hat, it's like, I don't need to do that right now.
Yeah, you gotta focus on, yeah, like,
Yeah,
the sense of movement or
yeah,
as
yeah,
you say, telling the
exactly.
story. I think that's as you say, like, I know there's a lot being said about imposter syndrome stuff with artists and people's
Hmm.
confidence, as you said, but I think it's important to hear that from people a lot because I think if you suffer from that, and I've said this before, but I don't think it ever goes away. I think if
No,
you're the type
no.
of person that deals with it, all it does is you can push that down and suppress it by sort of
Yeah.
topping up your, I don't know, like your dopamine levels or whatever. But
Yeah.
it will always come back unless you keep that topped up. And
Yeah.
it can help to hear, like when I heard about superstar artist Nick Roche, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
working on the Earthspark thing, doing the character
Oh,
design, and he was
yeah.
talking about how much he was learning about it from the
Mm,
team. And I'm like,
yeah.
if someone like that is still, I mean, other than unworldly arrogance any other time on that boy,
Oh god, yeah.
but if he can be humble enough for a second to say, I actually learned a lot there, it's like everyone's in that space. Like there's hardly anyone who's not probably a little bit worried or a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it said a lot to me when I was in my teens, and oh my gosh, I mean, I can actually converse with people in public these days. Um, as a teenager, I was crushingly shy.
Right.
And a lot of people I know now just don't seem to believe it. It's like, oh God, you just need to talk to my husband about the times where someone in a shop asked me a question about something I was buying and I ran away because I didn't know what to say.
Do you think that getting out of that though, like
Uh,
how do you get out of that through? Is it just a combination of like getting older, experience in life, or is it more that? I mean, you've had a lot of quite like rightly received praise for your work because it's so good. Like you get that stuff. That I think that's the stuff that helps top up your
mhm.
confidence until you go. You know what? I'm
Yeah.
going to say I am buying this soap. I am buying this.
I know I have change for that thing rather than being scared when I've handed someone a £20 note and they say, "Oh, can you give me something less?" you know.
Go no.
um, it's a little bit of it is getting older, and a little bit of it was working at the shop, which gave me
Yeah.
the proper kick up the arse that I needed.
Yeah, yeah,
You
can't
know,
really
I
escape speaking to people in a
no, and
retail thing.
I'd already been living in Manchester a couple of years for university, but it's a real it's a big sort of jump when you're actually interacting with people every day. And because it was people who were like me, liked
Mm.
geeky things, and
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I can weaponize my hyperfixation here
Yeah.
because me going on and on about things in a slightly obsessive way when I do get over my shyness is a positive because
Mhm.
that's how I recommend new books. So I had a great time back in those that sort of era of Vertigo where you're having things like Fables. Walking Dead had been out for about a year, so that was big, and
Yeah.
we really had this sort of amazing like bump in. I used to describe it as like a HBO of comics going on right
Yeah,
now.
well, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
well, we were into all that stuff back then for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I just talk for ages to these poor customers, but seemed to work because it 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 sort of that like really boosted my confidence, and the fact that we were very lucky. I don't know if it's because Manchester's just a nice place, but
Mhm.
um, compared to other people I know who've worked in comic shops, I seem to have had some wonderful customers, and that really helped me coming out of my
Oh,
shell.
that's good. Like
Um,
that's that. I mean, I only really. I mean, between there's you that I know now. Uh, I know McFeely did work in
yeah,
comic
yeah.
shop, and but there's one guy in our Glasgow Forbidden Planet that I talked to, and he is on the verge, man. He's just like,
Oh.
do you know, it's he said, "If you would you cheer up? You work in a fucking comic shop, like that's one of that's a dream job for a lot of people." And he was like, "It doesn't matter what's in the boxes at the end of the day. I still have to lift them. You know, I don't care about them anymore. I'm just they might as well be bricks." I was like, "Oh,
Oh, I get it. But oh my gosh, I still go into my old shop because it's my local, so I still pop in there, and if I see that diamond delivery come in, I'm like, "Ooh, ooh, what you got there? Can I help?
like
Can
okay,
I
let
can
me
I
organize this, please."
can I tick off the invoice sheet for you? Can I have a little look at previews? Oh, previews. I love looking through previews.
Man, do you think that that sort of being or like that kind of organized sort of sorting stuff out, that sort of mindset helps you when you do
Mm.
stuff like coloring comics? Because I've got a thing here about like I know you colored like I didn't know you colored the first volume of Rock of the Reds,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
I
because
did.
I was like I'm not a football guy at all, right? But I love
Mhm.
football comics for some reason,
Oh. Well,
and
that was the vibe they were going for. Was they really wanted to feel like that classic kind of footy comic,
yeah,
just with that 2000 AD slant to it as well.
yeah, no, I keep meaning to pick it up because I was like I got these little daft little comic digests like you used to get back in the 80s, and I've picked up like
Yeah.
hundreds of them by now, and I just love them because they're so like it's the stories are so dynamic, but they're all based around
Mm.
really low level football, like like
Oh no,
teams that
this
are.
one's got aliens in it. It's great. And
Yeah, no,
uh,
I need to get it. But do you think that about the coloring side of it? Like, I don't have the patience for coloring, and I'm not organized enough to be a colorist at all.
if I'll be honest with you, I am not organized enough to be a colorist. I mean, that sounds really like down on myself, but I think I still am quite down on myself as a colorist.
Right.
It was quite a tricky part of my life when I was working on those pages, and
Mhm.
I didn't feel like I was doing. I really didn't feel like I was doing a good job. I
Okay.
was in. I think I was in an era of my day job where it was a bit stressful,
Right.
and then I was coloring multiple comics at the time. So I think I was doing a gig for 2000 AD. I was trying to do rock. There's the sort of pressure of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to let down John Wagner. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I still couldn't believe that he'd written to me. That's a shock of an email to get, and
Yeah. Oh god,
you
yeah,
know,
I'd
it's
be yeah, you can't turn that down.
and then I was coloring something else as well, I think, for a friend, and it was both. I'd said yes to too many things, and I had not planned out
Yeah.
how I was going to do everything. And really, like, that's what I should have done. And still, sometimes now, I was just talking to some colleagues the other week because I got myself stressed out about deadline because I was thinking, okay, I've finished one thing, I'll go straight on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I've written the date down wrong. The date had been written from an American editor. I
Oh, no.
read it wrong, wrote it down, totally, and I couldn't believe I'd done that. I was so upset, and I mean, I get quite personal when I get frustrated about
Yeah.
myself and deadlines, and so this had happened back then. But add on top of that, the fact that I'd not yet been going to therapy about various things, and I
Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't yet diagnosed with my lovely anxiety
Mhm.
issues. Um, and so I love rock, and I love the artist, and I love John, and I still feel like I hope I can go and hang out with him someday and say I'm so sorry it all went
Oh,
a bit
do you know,
wrong.
I think it's very especially with anxiety stuff when you're diagnosed, like, again, I'm in a very similar situation.
Mm,
I, look back and go, "That's why that didn't work out," or "That's why I messed
mm,
that up," and, it now gives you the tools you need to be able to deal with that. But, like,
yeah.
I've only just started, like, I started doing a lot more freelance work this year
Mhm.
than I've
Yeah.
ever done, and there's definitely that feeling of, "If I don't say yes to this, I'll never get another
Yeah,
chance."
yeah, that's it. You really you're like, "This is too good an opportunity," and you think to yourself, "If I say I'll do it, I can do it."
Yeah.
And that doesn't always work out on you, and especially if it's like you kind of like when you have the kind of brain that we have, it's like you're laying out this path full of little booby traps and ahead of yourself and going, "Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll
Yeah,
be
it's all gonna
great."
be
And then
great,
you go,
yeah.
"Oh, damn, why did this go wrong again?" But I mean, I guess it can't be so bad because I'm not like stricken off the records anywhere in
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah, you've
I
got a
just
very good reputation as a you know?
but my brain definitely thinks I probably will be though.
Fuck,
It's
it
it's
won't
it's
last.
it's oh, it's such a like it's a proper like self defeating mindset, but
I feel like it
it's
won't be
just
your work it'll be your abrasive personality that
yes,
gets
it'll
you
definitely be that.
that
Yeah.
brings you down in the end.
It'll be that smiley I put in an email to an editor, won't it?
Yeah, that's it.
But
I copy and pasted my shopping list into an email to a boss once, so but
oh, that's
like
quite nice though.
but, like,
See,
if you've got
sometimes things go wrong in a very sweet way that I find really likable.
yeah, well, luckily, like, I had a horrible moment, this might not even make it into the podcast, but I had a horrible moment where I was on a team meeting. I've only just kinda started this new job that I'm in, and
Yeah.
we're all on a Zoom call, and I was like, "I need the bathroom." So I turned off
Ugh,
my camera, and I went to the bathroom, and
yeah.
halfway through, I got a message, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder who's messaging me," and it was someone saying, "You've left your mic on, just in case." And I was like, "Have they heard me go to the toilet in my entirety?"
Oh,
Now
it's the worst thought, isn't it?
yeah, it turns out everyone's like, "No, no, I didn't hear anything," and but there was a 15-minute window where I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
positive that the entire office essentially
Oh.
had heard the unmentionable happening.
Like I will walk around with my headphones in
Mhm.
constantly. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm because I can't draw in silence. Some people
Okay.
can. Some people need just music. But if I'm not working on the story side of things, then I love to have podcasts on, YouTube
Yeah.
videos. I just it just helps me. It weirdly helps me focus on what I'm doing.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Um,
for
and
sure.
especially when you're working in like I love making kids stuff, right? Nothing gives me a bigger buzz than having kids come up to my table at a convention
Oh
going,
yeah.
"I really like what you do," because they can't they don't have any reason to give you bullshit about that. They're just
Yeah.
going to be like, "No, you have absolutely made my day." The best one was I went to the Phoenix Fest a few years ago. It was the
Mm.
first one after the lockdowns.
Right.
So it was my first um, kind of like um, moment of being someone who worked on the Phoenix
Mhm.
and meeting anyone who read it
Yeah.
because my first published comic work with them, and same with IDW Sonic as well. It all came out during the lockdown, so I never saw it in the shops. I never got to
Right.
meet people who had started picking it up, and all those cute little things you sort of imagine that you're going to get to do when your stuff comes out. Like I'm going to go into the comic shop and I'm going to pick up my
Yeah.
cover and I'm going to go, "Ooh, I wonder what this is about,"
Yeah. Oh,
because
oh, that's
you
my
know,
name. Look at that. My name's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
um, so this Phoenix Fest, I was already drawing. The first thing I did for them was um, Claire Justice Ninja
Mhm.
of Justice,
Yeah.
which was a great little comic strip. It was
Mm.
so much fun. And but during us working on that, we created Doggo. He was
Mhm.
kind of a spin-off who became his own thing, and now he's sort of. I mean, I hope he will take over the world at some point, but he's just a lovely little doggo.
Yeah.
Um, and we didn't know the kids had really gotten the joke of Doggo. We thought they'll find it cute. It's a little 4-panel strip.
Mhm.
Usually the joke is at the end, Doggo appears. And it
Mhm.
can be in history, it can be in the middle of a black hole that the Enterprise is
Yeah.
figuring out. Um, there's one where he's at the start of the universe. um, just little things like that. So we thought we're making this comic. This is kind of for us to laugh at.
Yeah.
And then the children, like, I was asked to do a little workshop and draw, do a how to draw doggo, and the hands were going up from these children. They were
Oh.
saying, "So is doggo a real dog, or is he a being from outside time and space?" And I was just, they completely get it. They're brilliant.
Yeah, you'd be
But
like
also,
on the Doggo wiki it says one thing,
oh
right?
my god,
And
yep. I that is my dream now, is that someone will make a doggo wiki one day. Um, and it'll be that first child who asked me that. But it was just after we did the workshop, we were all signing issues of the comic for kids.
Mm.
And one little girl came up and she leaned in. She was very shy, but she said, "Your comics really helped me during the lockdowns."
Oh.
And to say that I nearly like imploded
Oh, yeah.
myself, and that was kind of just okay. Yeah, this is why it's worth fighting that imposter syndrome and that worry about my organizational skills and things like that. I'm still making comics and getting them out, and kids are enjoying them,
Yeah,
so
oh
it's
no,
worth it.
absolutely. I think that's a testament to how well you do this stuff and how the connection you can have through your art with people is it's a hard thing to. I don't know how. I mean, obviously I am, as I've always said on this podcast, I am a little worm who sometimes lands a big fish to talk to. Um, but uh, at TF Nation, I've had a few people like just coming up the side of the table and be like, "Just want to say really quickly that your podcast, your videos have been really good and they really helped me out a lot." And right, okay, I'll see you later. And they run off,
Yeah, yep.
and I'm like, "Come back here and give me a big hug."
Yeah,
Like,
it's so nice, isn't it? And like it,
I don't know how to deal with it though.
yeah.
I'm just kind of like, all right,
It's strange. Like, and when I remember when I was a kid, like my big hero when I was young, of course, was the amazing Richard Elson, who
Mhm.
worked on Sonic the Comic.
Yeah,
Um, and he has since thankfully become a lovely friend. He was very encouraging to me in my early years.
Oh,
But I remember when we first met him, I was so surprised that he was quite, uh, not sort of very much like us as we talk about our work now.
yeah.
He was just, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about having a first maid." He was at a convention, but he didn't have a table. He was just sort of like hanging around with Nigel Kitching,
Yeah.
and there were us, like, this big gang of annoying Sonic teenagers going, "We think you're amazing, and
Yeah.
you're so good and brilliant. And can you tell us why you did this in issue one, 1, 2, 3?"
Is Tails a real fox, or is he an
Yeah.
interdimensional being?
Do you know if he is a kitsune? You know, we had we were new on the internet. We were
Oh
just
yeah.
learning about Japanese things.
We're going to
Um,
use all the
and
nomenclature we can find.
and they like, oh, we don't know any of that. We just want to make a good comic.
Is that when you
We
realize
like,
these? Wait a minute, these are just normal people.
yeah, and then also, but you recognize that sort of feeling of, wait, I know what it's like to feel like that
Yeah.
about my work, and you both feel a bit sad because, oh, I wish my hero didn't feel like that about
Yeah.
things. I wish he didn't feel surprised that everyone adores him. But then, well, how? I don't know. Like, you don't want someone to sort of go, "Yes, hello, children, I am amazing. Come and
Yeah, beat
worship."
that. Yeah, being
Like,
like that, it beats the
no,
alternative of being big-headed, or
yeah,
they believe their own bullshit by the end of their career, and you know,
yeah, yeah. It's very weird. There's not many times I've met an artist like that, and it's always really strange when you do. It doesn't feel right.
But
But then
again,
there's
though, if they
the
keep on asking him back to TF Nation, he's going to be like that.
exactly, yeah, yeah. when he when he flicks the hair,
I mean, it maybe you're talking about Nick Roche. I don't know. Um,
I could be talking about Jack.
that's true. That's very true. Like, would you say that, like, when you've got the work that you've done, like, obviously you've done a ton of work on like IDW stuff, you've done the Sonic the Hedgehog books,
Mhm.
you've contributed to them, the My Little Pony stuff. You've got a My Little Pony. There's work coming up in January, I think, in an issue.
Yeah, there's a special coming out. I'm really excited about that. I
Yeah.
just finished work on it recently, and it's G4 ponies. So I was quite excited because, like, that was the big one. Was the
Right.
Friendship is Magic stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
That had the huge fandom. And while I was working on it, the newer series, I really liked what I'd seen.
Mhm.
I loved working on the comic because it was the characters were cute, the designs were nice. Genuinely, the CGI movie on
Mhm.
Netflix is pretty good. I think
Oh,
it made
okay.
me laugh quite a lot. But you sort of, it was a shame because I was like, oh, I really hope people do pick this up because I know they're not as excited about this version, and I hope kids at least are picking it up. And then, but then you start working on something for Friendship is Magic, and you start thinking, oh, I hope people aren't going to be weird. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but then that's I
It's a
say that
real
as a Sonic fan
concern,
as well,
yeah. Oh, yeah. The
and
Sonic
I
fandom's
mean,
got its own
oh, we're
foibles.
we're completely weird, and
Yeah.
just so no. I mean, I'm all up for weird. It's the other kind of weird, Just
Yeah. Oh no, I
please
get it.
don't
Yeah.
follow me around on the internet. I would. I mean, gosh, I'm really lucky. I've been pretty lucky when it comes to social media. Like,
Yeah.
oh
Oh yeah. I
God,
can
I'd even
imagine
say,
there's definitely a space there that we just want to avoid completely in
yeah. I
regards
mean,
to fandom.
I think my husband gets more reply guys than I do.
I told
Like,
you, don't mention him. I won't have him on the show. The
no, no, no. Don't worry.
No, so, like, do you have anything that you're like, okay, so like you've done Sonic now. Well, obviously you've worked on Sonic, you've done My Little Pony, all the stuff that you've done with Phoenix and Monster Fun and all that. But do you have like an aspiration? You're like, I'd love to do this, or I'd love to work on this, or is there anything you're working
if we're
towards?
talking if we're talking about properties, I'd love to have another crack on something Ninja Turtle related.
Okay.
I'd love to do. I just love turtles. That was my first love as a kid. You see, it
Yeah.
was the sort of first event that crossed me over from, like, just having girl toys to going, oh no, this is actually my jam.
Yeah, these are much
Um,
cooler.
this is great. Um, so it would be lovely to draw them again because I think since I did those initial comics when I feel like I was an absolute baby when I drew those first turtle comics. Um, I would love to see what I'd do now
Mhm.
with those as a cartoonist. But also, me and my husband have had like multiple. I know I shouldn't mention, but we've had multiple ideas that we've tried out before,
Mhm.
and we'd love to just have another crack at them. Like
Yeah,
we'd love to pitch them. We'd love to do our own stories. Like
'cause I
we
think it was one of your
the
first stories that I'd saw. That was, I think, one of the first things I'd seen of yours was an original.
was it Imaginary Gumbo?
It may have been, yeah. I'm
It's,
just trying to think of, like,
so
the it was quite a spooky
I
number.
still it was so you had a little girl who had this imaginary well, um he he's this big spooky knight
Yeah,
with a big sort of I really want to go back to that because we it was our first like original thing that we made together. We self-published it. Um we took it to Thought Bubble. We did 2 issues, and this was all while I was working at the comic shop
right.
and colouring jobs and and stacking on top. So
Yeah.
I still can't believe I got any of that out. But people really liked it,
Mhm, that was
and
very
we were
good,
really
yeah.
proud of it. And I really, really am really fond of those characters. And there's another thing, a couple of ideas that we came up with when we first met back when we were teenagers. So like
Oh.
things that you might get reference to if you listen to the Diary Zone. I'm sure he'll have written about some of those at some point.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
nothing escapes the
no.
eye.
um, so yeah, I mean, we're already working on a few things right now. But mostly I just want to keep doing this. It's too good.
Yeah, no, I get the
Too
response to
fun.
it's always been the amount of people I know, because that's, like, again, how, after, like, you kinda drop off from, like, Twitter and the like. I remember,
Mm.
like, reading my friend's son's Phoenix as it was just lying around, and I'm like, "Oh,"
Oh,
I was like, and I'm like, "I'm gonna just start getting this because it's great." Like, it's just
great. I mean, like, I'm yeah, I love Doggo. It's great fun to do, but oh my god, some of the stuff that's in there. I mean, obviously Jamie Smart is just, he's as Nick Roach is to Transformers, Jamie Smart is to all children everywhere. Um, and then I mean, one of my personal favourites, which recently finished, and I want to recommend because Transformers fans,
Mhm,
um, Mega Robo Bros.
mhm,
It's almost, I think it might all now be out as graphic novels.
yeah,
These wonderful little collections that the Phoenix do, and I just think it's such a good comic that works perfectly as an all ages title.
mhm,
Um, because it gets you to care about the characters. It's the basic premise is 2 little boys. They just happen to be robots.
mhm.
They've been adopted by this lovely couple. They have adventures. They've got lasers. One of them is little, and he's the one who's just obsessed with bums and farts and and zapping things with lasers. And then you've got the slightly older kid who's just on the cusp of his teens. That's like thinking, what does it mean to be? Am I truly sentient? What does it mean? Am I a boy? Am I a girl? I don't know. I'm a
Yeah.
robot. Mum, when I grow up, will I get married? And things like that. And somehow and then there's like mysterious bad guys and you don't know who they are. And it's just fantastic. I think if I was a kid, I mean, this is why we liked STC so much. They
Mhm.
they didn't care that it was a comic about a video game character. They just thought, let's get all our ideas out through this video game
Yeah.
character
Yeah,
as much
use
as
it as a
possible
lens
and make
to
what we want.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's always for me, like, the stuff that I tend to enjoy more, certainly now, obviously, that's the sort of deep
Mm.
the stuff that goes down a slightly deeper vein, but that's why things, I think, connect with certain mindsets like Steven Universe and the like, stuff that
Mm.
gives these are just, it's character focused more than anything else,
Yeah. Yeah.
and cool stuff happens in it, but it's the characters
Yeah.
that you go for, and in that kind of connection with kids. Like, if you let's say, in fact, well, let's say, if imagine there's someone out there listening, or they come up to you in a convention, and a kid.
Mhm.
I know it sounds unlikely that someone would be listening to this, okay, but someone sees your art, a kid,
Mm.
and they say, "God damn it, I want to be like them and make comics." Now, blasphemy aside, what advice would you give to them?
um, So the main thing is keep drawing what you enjoy. That's the important thing. Don't let anyone. And I have had parents come up to me and say, "What advice can you give my kid?" Because they love drawing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just wonderful to hear parents say that
Hmm.
because so many parents would say, "Oh, that's a waste of time. It's just art. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything." And but to meet someone who's just no, seriously, they love it, and I want to encourage that. Um, and they're going to encounter people who will say, "Stop doing that. Stop drawing that." It's you're not you're just copying this or that. It's like, well, you
Yeah.
start off copying.
Yeah.
That's you
That's
you
literally it. You
yeah.
the more you copy, that's how I can draw. That's how I can draw hands.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, if it
Yeah.
wasn't for having just drawn hundreds of them, like from fucking Sega magazine or whatever.
Yeah, well, I one of my friends like copied drawing hands from Asterix comics and things.
Yeah,
That's
that's how it becomes muscle memory, and you just do it.
yeah,
You know.
and it's like yeah, of course, I always say sort of as you get older, you want to look at other inspirations, you want to look at drawing real things from real life because that's how you learn how to draw different stuff. It's good to get out of your comfort zone, but if someone has said to you, for example,
Mm.
don't draw Sonic the Hedgehog, it's cringe. Don't listen to them and keep
No.
drawing it. And if you don't, if you are anxious about it, guess what? You don't have to put every drawing on the internet. You can just have that in your sketchbook. You can have a sketchbook full of Sonic the Hedgehog drawings,
Yep.
or Starscream and Megatron kissing, and who
Hey, come
cares?
on now.
It
Come
doesn't matter.
on now. No, you're right. You're right. And again, like people will tell you, Charmy B is not going to pay the mortgage,
No.
but depends what they're doing, I suppose, if you're
if
commissioning.
if
But
if you lose the love of it, then you, what's the point?
yeah,
You've got to
yeah. If
enjoy it.
like I think there's a
Like
big distinction between being like I want to do this for a living or I want to do this for fun.
yeah, yeah,
And like if you want to do it for fun, then do anything you want. You
yeah.
don't have to. If you're like for me, I was like, shit. If I'm going to do freelance work, I need to have some illustrations that aren't Optimus Prime on my
Yeah.
portfolio. But
Oh, I mean, I remember the time when I left uni, and I was like, what am I going to do with a portfolio? I've got no variation, and I was so scared that I'd never end up. There was a point in my life where I could only draw animals
mhm.
and Sonic adjacent animal people, or Ninja Turtle adjacent animal people. And then eventually, suddenly, I was like, well, I'm better drawing people these days than animals. I got to fix that ratio. I got to get good at drawing animals again. Um, but it does a lot of the time. It does just develop. But you
Mhm.
do have to sometimes look out of your comfort zone, but at the same time keep your weird sketchbook. That's
I
that's
think
for
the weird
you guys.
sketchbook idea is really good. I think that's like,
Yeah,
and I think that's honestly such a good bit of advice. Is not everything you draw needs to go up on the internet.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
like it's nice for people to see your development, but
yeah.
you know, just sometimes make some stuff for yourself.
Mm. I have a young friend who I met them when they were about 14 or 15. They came into our shop on the shop's birthday, which was a lovely thing. The shop had a birthday party,
Oh,
and they brought me a drawing that they'd done, but they were so shy that they had to give it to their mum to hand to me.
oh,
I know. And it was I've still got that picture somewhere. Um, and it had Sonic the Hedgehog on, and a My Little Pony character, and various other cute characters,
oh,
and it was brilliant. It was genuinely great. And thankfully, I am now still friends with that kid.
oh,
In fact, he came and hung out with us at Thought Bubble, and he's incredibly talented. I'm determined to see him in one of these comics
yeah.
soon.
Oh,
But
that's
it's
so
just
cool though. Like that again.
it,
That's you are that. Like you're the kitchen now. You're the Elsie.
I I hope so. Like except a bit more sort of intensely mum-like, you know. Like, are you okay? Have you had some dinner? Are you going to be all right on the road home now? It's terrible. Dave's had to tell me off sometimes. But no, I mean, like it's great to see, and I mean, you get it at conventions. You'll always have people coming up saying, "I'm a student. Can you give me some advice?" And I remember going to my first convention and not having the guts to go up to people to say that.
Yeah.
And the one time I did have the guts to go and talk to someone whose artwork I really liked and everything, that was Jack Lawrence,
Oh,
who
okay.
was then turned around and became a very, very good friend.
Yeah.
And was very encouraging for me.
Well, I can't imagine Jack saying anything other than the most positive, nice.
I mean, how lucky is that the person you decide to walk up to is Jack?
Oh yeah,
And
because if you just went a few tables down, oh, forget it.
God, yeah, I'd have been screwed. I'd have never drawn again.
But no, that's
yeah.
honestly like, so yeah, that's a nice thing. I think that's all we can really do in terms of, I think your work is a legacy for you, but I think the real stuff that people will end up talking about in years to come, they'll be like, do you know who was all right actually?
Do you know what? There's nothing better. There's like, you know, you can worry about thinking, do people think I'm great or do they hate me? But to have someone just go, oh, they were just a good old time.
They were all right despite everything.
Yeah.
They were all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look,
despite everything, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. That's all the trials and tribulations ended up fine.
I'm happy with being fine.
Yeah, that's a nice, that's a t-shirt design right there.
Yeah.
So, like, before we ask our final wrap-up question, where we will start, all the people listening, oh, when are you going to talk about Transformers? Shut up, all right?
You can come. We'll talk about Transformers at TF Nation.
Exactly. We're talking to Abby here about comics, all right? We will talk about Transformers by the end of the show, I promise.
Yes.
But would you be okay with a little slice of fun?
Yep. Let's give it a go.
I've got
slice of fun pie.
I've got a short quiz here.
All right.
That I've titled Abby to Abby. Okay.
Do I get a theme song?
I'll put I'll try this thing on this app. I'll put on some quiz music. I don't know if you can hear this.
I can hear it.
Oh, brilliant!
It's great.
Okay.
Perfect.
So my quiz questions all revolve around other famous Abbies. All you have to do, all you've got to do is get 3 out of 5 correct, and you win our star prize, which is a day trip to Jupiter when those things are possible.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Okay. So, famous Abbies. Question 1. This famous Abbey was purchased by Count Dracula in the novel Dracula.
Oh my God. Is it Whitby? No.
It's very close. It was based on Whitby Abbey.
Yeah. Nope, don't know.
It was Carfax Abbey. Okay. Number 2. This music's doing my head in. Hold on.
I was having a bop.
I'm gonna. Oh, I can put the volume down. Okay, that's beautiful.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Question 2. One of the funniest names to say in a Scouse accent is Steven Gerrard, but which famous Abbey is a close second?
Oh no! I have no clue. Nope, don't know.
I'm afraid it was Abbey Clancy.
Oh my God!
So, number 3. This zebra-striped walkway adorns an iconic album cover.
Oh, Abbey Road.
Abbey Road, there we go.
Yeah.
You're on your way to Jupiter. Here we go.
Dave will be happy because he gets like little hyperfixations about the Beatles every now and then. So.
Oh, really? Okay. This Abbey is a coming-of-age novel and satire of Gothic novels written by Jane Austen.
Oh!
Yeah.
I flipping read that the other year. Is it Northanger Abbey?
It's Northanger Abbey, you've got it.
No! I'm proud.
It was Northanger Abbey. Okay,
Yay!
and final question. Now, this determines whether you get this trip to Jupiter or not.
Okay.
Home to a community of Benedictine monks, this abbey is praised by Scottish maniacs everywhere.
Oh, no. No, I don't know my abbeys so well.
It was Buckfast Abbey. Abby, I'm afraid the
No.
trip to Jupiter is off the cards.
Oh, well.
You'll have to go
I'll just
to
get to stay here.
the Birmingham Metropole Hotel.
Well, I hope they fixed the air conditioning.
Apart from the air conditioning, for some reason, I love going to that hotel. It's just,
Oh, because it gives you joy.
yeah, you're just like, I would go there when the convention wasn't on. I don't know if that would ruin it, but I'm just like, take me to that hotel.
I know. Just
Nothing
think of that hotel.
Nothing but
And the
happiness.
I know. I've only ever had a good time though.
Well, speaking of good times, it wouldn't be the Secret Hot Tub podcast if we didn't talk a little bit about Transformers, because it's my favourite thing, and you're no slouch in that area yourself. So this has become a real talked about ending question. It's a fan favourite. They crave it, this question. Now, bear in mind, your favourite Transformer, it can be from comics, toys, whatever you like. And the audience listening, Abby, they can do shit all about that.
They can.
Have we ever spoken about Transformers? I can see a Transformer in the background there.
You can.
There he is.
This is you're gonna love this. Let me just lift up my. No one at home can see this, but this is the shrine that I've made in my new.
You've got a little Starscream
my new
shrine.
apartment. I have a little Starscream shrine. A shrine.
I think a shrine's important. I've got an Ultra Magnus
Sneaky
one.
Rodimus there.
Oh, there he is.
But you'd think, you'd think I'd have more Ratchet stuff.
What would you say? Is your favorite ultimately going to be Ratchet or Starscream?
So it's so hard to say. Like,
one is going into the smelting pool straight after.
Ah, right. Okay. So it's going to be Ratchet then, because that was my first sort of like, and it started like I like a lot of different Ratchets.
Mm-hmm.
I do like my classic Ratchet, my G1,
but
the first one that I just adored was animated.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Loved that take on him. So when they ran with it in More Than Meets the Eye, that kind of grumpy older medic, loved that. Obviously, I'm very fond of Transformers Prime Ratchet as well. Just the voice.
Oh yeah,
it's too cool a voice.
They knew what they were doing. Like I'd say between animated and Prime, that the voice acting and casting was just spot on for everybody.
Very good. So he's just a character who's always a highlight for me. And then Starscream, I just love to hate. It didn't even start off ironic. I just because I got into the fandom at an older age with animated.
Yeah.
And then I kind of ended up going back to watch G1 because I loved watching old 80s stuff. And so you're just like, this character's great fun.
Yeah, it's a highlight of the G1 shows for sure, because they're so fucking terrible. You have to take those little points of light wherever you can.
Just the fact that like they keep him around. I don't need people to. I don't need that explained. It's great. Just keep him around. You're all absolute fools and idiots, and this guy's got the best voice and the best motivation out of everyone, and he's good.
Oh no, absolutely, I love it. Seeing that someone had put up that comic strip recently, the page from one of the IDW comics, I think it was, where Starscream finally got like everything he ever wanted, and it was just like Apocalypse. And Megatron's like, see, that's what happens, mate. You're.
No, I just So I love him, but I don't care about him going in the smelting pool. He probably deserved it.
It is true. He probably, if anyone deserves it, it's probably Starscream.
Like even in the recent comics, he got some comeuppance, and much as I'd enjoyed him being an absolute shitburger, those whole 6 issues.
Yeah.
Seeing him getting trounced was just that's great.
That's it. It's like I always like about things like professional wrestling and stuff. Like you can really hate a character, but also still be like, or you can be like, that guy's an arsehole, but I like him. And then, but I also like to see him, thrown off a building or something. But yeah, no, I think Ratchet's a very strong like it's a character. Yeah, I think from animated onwards, that's where they were like, okay, this is what he's going to be like, and it's just
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. It's good. It's just I just really liked his whole sort of his relationship with the cast in animated was really nice. And
Hmm. Yeah, it's
um
cute. Let's say I'm a sucker for characters who soften over time.
yes.
You know.
Oh, I'm terrible for that. I think what I call it is my sort of love of grumpy dads.
Hmm.
You know, your whole your Geralts and everything.
Yeah.
The the gruff people who are just like, "Ugh, secretly, I really like being a dad." Ugh."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yep, immediately, I love you, and I'll draw fan out. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. It's any character like that. You're just like you're waiting for that moment where
yeah,
they're
yeah,
a wee smile or something. You'll be like, ah.
yeah. And I like his the friendship he tends to have with Optimus. You know, that's
Hmm.
always nice.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
like there's so
it's cool.
much to enjoy, especially a character that's been around that long as well. There's so much to
Mm,
enjoy with it, and
yeah,
very
yeah.
rarely have they misstepped with Ratchet. I think,
Mm.
apart from when they fused him with Megatron, and it was horrible.
Yeah, but that wasn't that cool?
It was cool, but it's not.
Like-
I'm not going to say it didn't. It wasn't nightmare fuel for a young child. But
I mean, anytime like sorry, if uh, we're talking Transformers, so I can gush. The thing that absolutely sold me on Mother Meets the Eye when it was first coming out, because I hadn't. I'd put down the Transformers comics for a while I was working at the shop.
Mhm.
I remember starting reading the Furman ones and then going, it's cool, but it's lost me a bit.
Yeah.
And then this big revamp happened, and I was
Hmm.
just, oh, that's interesting. I'll look at that at some point. And then someone came up to me and said, no, you should really try it.
Yeah.
So the issue that was on the that we had left on the shelves because it was selling out already
Yeah.
was the first part of that little Delphi story
Hmm.
with Ratchet, the two-parter.
Yeah.
And I was just, I can't remember anything about IDW continuity right now, but the character writing on this is so bang on, and all the little quippy jokes made me
Yeah.
laugh. They all hit right. You know, the relationship with Drift, and Drift had kind of been an ongoing joke between me and a good friend of mine.
Mhm.
Um, like he was like, no, I genuinely love that guy, and I was just, nah, he's such a
I think
weeby
the
character.
drift continues to be an ongoing joke no matter what happens, really. But
Oh yeah, but like this, something about this issue just made me go, kind of liked him in this.
yeah,
He was great. He was great fun.
yeah, I think there's
Um,
a lot to be said for that era, like that. What I think that's a lot of what was responsible for, what when you go to like TF Nation now and you see that
mm,
there's like it's not just men in their 40s.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and I think that might have started with animated a bit
mhm.
because the way I felt like what I liked about and I really wish I had got to meet him, but Derek J. Wyatt was a huge inspiration to me at the time
Oh
because
yeah, he's my hero for sure. Like I still,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
unreal.
I mean, I at the time when I was doing my freelance work, I was only coloring like I think Tom and Jerry comics and some Scooby Doo puzzles.
Right.
And I wasn't really I wasn't working on my own stuff, and I was really feeling like no one in comics wants to see cartooning anymore.
Hmm.
No, Scotty Young hadn't had his big um,
Yeah.
push into fame yet, and every day I go into work and I see superhero comics all looking very similar,
Hmm.
and I was just really down. And then suddenly animated came out, and it was just, what is this?
Yeah.
And it just it hit everything perfectly for me. So, but I also felt like, I mean, maybe it's some of it's a little dated now, but a lot of the design philosophy, I was like, this doesn't feel just geared at boys. Is
No,
what
no,
I
I
liked
totally
about it.
agree. Like, I think there's something. There's definitely a push towards this being for
Yeah,
everyone, and I think
and I
that's
really,
why a lot of people initially the grumpy old 40-year-old men were like, oh,
yeah,
I don't like it.
I was like, no, it's okay. Like, can we not? We should be allowing kids to have this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like we had it, and it was great. Like I had my Ninja Turtles,
yeah.
and it was absolutely ridiculous, and I adored it. But if that hadn't happened, it like I just love that Eastman and Laird
Hmm.
got got such a successful franchise out of it. Like, I
Yeah.
hate using terms like franchise, but I am happy for them. They made a mad little indie comic,
Yeah.
got mad toys made out of it, and it is still one of the consistently best properties out there for
Mhm.
making
Yeah.
like scary choices on what they're going to do with stuff.
Oh,
Like
yeah, like that
artists seem
last
to,
movie, I was so shocked at some of the stuff they were
oh,
getting away with in terms
that
of
was incredible.
yeah, I loved it.
Like, yeah, and I mean, and I kind of like animated did that for me with Transformers. It
Mhm,
sort of just went, oh my god, what I love the look of this, and it dragged me into it because I could see like that this is my first sort of introduction with the um this is how I met my very good friend Jahan,
mhm,
who you might know from Serious Business and also
mhm.
another friend at TF Nation. Um, and it's how I got to meet Chris McFeely because when work was dead, I would spend my days reading the synopses of Transformers Animated on the TF Wiki.
Right, nice.
And then I found out that he wrote for some of the TF Wiki. I don't know if he did the animated stuff, but just the fact that oh, this guy on online
Oh, he
is
probably does it all.
did
Like,
this.
I'm
Oh,
still convinced that he does
him
90% of it, you know?
either him or David Willis, surely.
Yeah.
But I God, yeah. I mean, just the fact that I'm that kind of fan that will. Okay, I don't know everything about Transformers, but I want to learn it all. So I would
Yeah.
sit there and read stuff, and I go, okay, this is the original character, and that's how I ended up getting into comics and Mother Meets the Eye, and um,
I think
watching the old cartoons. And
it's fascinating to me how these things like I've got I think before TF Nation this year, I recorded a podcast with Nick from Toy Fu, and then
mm.
time got away from me, and I didn't post it in time, and I thought, well, there's no point posting
Yeah.
this now. I'll wait before the next minicon, and it's like
Mm.
tomorrow, and
Mm.
I'm not going, and I also
Yeah.
haven't edited that podcast, so I fucked them again.
Oh.
But in that podcast, I talk about that because if it wasn't for that the first animated reveal, you know, the
Mm.
sort of them all Optimus
Oh,
punching
yeah.
out through the thing, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing any of this because it was. I remember I joined. That was my first time joining a board. I think it was. I don't know if it was the
Mm.
TFW boards, and they put it up, and everyone was going, "I hate it. It's disgusting. Oh, this
Oh,
isn't Transformers."
yeah.
And I put something up like, "I think it's really. I really like it. It's nice and dynamic."
Yeah, yeah.
And people started getting a bit shirty about it. And
I
then
hate that.
Nick uh, Davidson, Toy Fu Nick, had
Mm.
messaged me on through the forum saying, you might just want to join this other forum, this UK based one.
Yeah.
We're a lot more chill about this."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I did. And if it wasn't for him doing that, I would never have met him. I would never have met any of the
yeah.
people from the TMUK. We wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. I guarantee it.
Oh god, I mean, STCTP wouldn't exist if I hadn't gone into Transformers with animated.
Mm,
Um, I don't think I'd have done Imaginary Gumbo
yeah.
because so much of that came out of like how I would look at how Derek drew. So when I
Mhm.
initially designed those characters, I was so like I know it's gone off in its own direction now visually, and I think it's hard to say like when you're working on your own work. I think I've got my own style now. Hard to tell,
Oh, no, you
you
can
you're always
definitely.
thinking.
I can tell your artwork out of a lot of artwork. Yeah.
But there's things that I picked up like how I'm drawing my legs. There's that stance that I like to draw.
Mhm.
Um, when you've got a guy with a big chest and then slightly scrawny legs, but they're all bendy. Like I'm thinking of that Optimus Prime. I'm
Yeah,
thinking of that drawing of him standing and like it was just from a model sheet, but it's just like, oh, I love that.
yeah.
I love how that guy draws arms and legs.
I think that's where I kind of a lot of those little things that you learn about how to pose something dynamically, even if
Mm,
someone's just standing there. It was like, oh
yeah,
wow, they're like angling the leg, the thighs are angling backwards a bit, and there's like,
yeah,
and you start figuring that out. And yeah, like if it wasn't for, I mean, I really tried to be Derek White for a long time and did not have the
oh yeah, me
skill
too.
or like the design savvy that they did, of course, but. Those things I think help you to define what it is that you find interesting about those things, and you take those lessons
Yeah,
away with you,
yeah.
and then as you say, you develop it into a style that is distinctly yours. And well, you definitely
Mhm.
got like a super distinctive style.
It's funny because you're looking at it from the other side. You look at your own work and you go, "Well, I can see where I've got that from there and there and there."
Yeah.
So I mean, I keep going back to this, but it's not often that an Instagram post affects my life. But someone once posted about that kind of self-confidence issue,
Mm,
the way artists look at their own work and go, "Oh, no."
yeah.
And what they posted was a piece of sewing, and one of those like, I don't know anything about needlework or felt work, but when you put it on that little sort of round, you put the
Oh yeah, yeah,
sheet of
totally.
material, and then you sew into that and everything, and you get this beautiful piece of work, and it all looks amazing.
Yeah.
And other people look at it and go, "Oh, that's great, that's beautiful. How do you do that?" But then you flip it over, and all the artist can see on the back is all the threads and the mess and the tangle.
Yeah.
And I had one of those like galaxy brain moments when I saw
Yeah.
that. I thought, "Oh my god, you're right. I'm just seeing every time I rubbed something out or messed with a line, and
Yeah.
all I can think of is those moments, not the final piece."
Yeah, because you're
And
like
I think that's true
90%
for a
of
lot of
these
people.
these rubes that are looking at your artwork, they don't notice that. Like they're just looking at
Yeah,
the final artwork. Like that's
they didn't.
I had to learn that a lot in my day-to-day job doing graphic design is like
Yeah.
you go to someone, you show them why you're pitching this idea, and
Mm.
but it's like, and you can show them all the intricacy of how you got there, but if the ending looks shit to them, you're not going to sell
Oh,
them on it. But
yeah.
luckily for us now, we're both so good at what we do that won't happen.
Yeah, yeah, we are. And I gotta say, like, I remember the first Forge I saw you at. I kind of like came up a bit shy because the funny thing is that, no, seriously, I had found out about you because you went on Richie Morgan's Doctor Who or
That's oh
podcast.
yeah, I hate Doctor Who.
That's it. And that was just after a TF Nation. And then I found out, oh my god, this is someone who loves animated. Ooh,
Well,
they draw. Ooh. And then so the next TF Nation, I came up with the forge. You had some small like prints and pieces that you'd done by hand, and I was like, I'm going to buy some art off you. And then I think I scuttled away to the bar like Gollum with your
that's
artwork, and I've still got those pieces in my art
oh.
folders.
No, well,
Um,
that means a lot because yeah, it's like as someone who I am a big fan of your work, and that makes me feel good to know that that's. But I mean, obviously, I don't. No one needs to worry about coming up to me in the forge, but but the
yeah, but it's fun to do a good Gollum scuttle up to
it
someone.
really
So
is, yeah.
I'll keep doing it.
The yeah, because I remember Richie being like, I've got pals who are going to be at TF Nation as well. Like I know people who are going to be there, and being like, oh no, that's weird. Like our worlds are colliding now.
That's the thing. I can't get over like how much that of crossover there is between so many things that I like. Like I know so many. Like Chris turned out to have grown up with STC. That I
Mhm.
didn't know that when I first became friends with him.
Yeah.
Um, that but then like these people we'd been listening to a podcast by for so long
Mhm.
was a mate of yours, and then also you're a mate of um Mecha Gamezilla,
Yeah.
who I've been sniggering at for years as well.
Well,
Um,
supposed friend. I just literally got sent a podcast, early podcast from Richie with him
oh.
and Owen and me doing a Doctor Who thing. So that's coming out in the next day or two, I think.
Yes. Oh, I mean, honestly, every time me and he who shall not be named get a notification about Infinite Review, we're like, brilliant! That's some
Oh,
lunchtime watching. That is,
yeah.
turn
If you
to that.
haven't, listeners, watched any of the Infinite Review on YouTube, you definitely should. It
Oh,
is
great,
fantastic.
so good. I'd recommend watching you guys playing that Star Trek VR game
Oh yeah,
from years back,
yeah.
which still makes me cry because that guy, you just randomly one of you drops out and some random bloke comes in,
Oh yeah,
and you're
Bruce
just
Hill
looking
Racing.
at. That's it. Oh, it was lovely. Yeah.
Oh no, that's yeah. I think that's been a weird, yeah. All those things that you start to think in life, how these things would never have happened if not for one small little
Yeah.
thing, and it's just yeah, it's crazy.
See, I mean, even for years, I didn't know Jack Lawrence was a huge Transformers fan,
Oh really?
and like I just knew him as that guy who did those awesome comics at
Yeah.
that Bristol Con one year, and then stayed in touch with us and kept encouraging us and everything, um and then I did find out that he was a big Transformers fan because we had James and Nick do a signing at our comic shop once in Manchester,
Yeah.
and I took them for. I was told by my boss that I could take them for lunch or breakfast first, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Ooh. So I was, I didn't really know them yet, so I was very nervous about it.
Mhm.
But they started then. They mentioned Jack Lawrence in that chat, and I went, "Wait, you know Jack?" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, he's been a mate of ours for ages." Like, "Oh my
Oh.
gosh!" I didn't. And then what happens a few years later? He's announced to be the artist on Lost Light.
Yep.
And Dave told me the news. Sorry again, dropping the name. And he can tell you that I fell off my sofa because I was so happy for him getting to draw
Yeah.
Transformers because I knew how much he was passionate about it.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't believe he was getting to do that with James. And I just started crying for him right away. It was just, I was
Oh
bawling.
no,
And then there might have been a gin beforehand, but I just, I was so excited for him for getting that job.
like what a
Like,
fantastic run of like amazing artists we got during that
oh
period.
my God, yeah,
Like
yeah,
we got like say Jack again. Like I know like Jack's often talked about people being like giving him stick. I think he's one of the best to
yeah,
ever work in Transformers. Like we had
yeah.
Kizama, we had Roche,
Oh,
we had
Kay,
like I'm
yeah,
literally surrounded by like 6 different original pieces by K because she's just like my favorite of all time.
yeah.
But the
Kay's amazing.
but yeah, there's so many great artists during that period that just I don't. It feels like there was still so much to be done there, and
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the dangers of working on licensed properties, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
it's like, and I enjoy working on licensed properties, and it pays your bills.
Hmm.
To be like, at the end of the day, that I'm very lucky though to have gotten to work on things that I am passionate about.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also not yours,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to get to play in that toy box, and I'm happy they got to for so many years
Hmm.
because that's IDW had that license for a long time.
That's true. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, you're always going to want to have seen where that would have gone.
Yeah, I think there's an
A
alternate
bit more.
timeline, which is
Yeah,
I guess how the book ended
which
as
is
well.
canon. um, but yeah, it's just we first encountered that when we were kids, and STC suddenly ended, and fans carried that on online.
Yeah, that's
Um,
there. I mean, for better or worse, you know.
yeah, and fans are always carrying on Sonic Online.
Do you know, even like I will draw the odd Sonic now and again because it's such a nice. It's one of those things that's burned into my memory when you're little because you draw so many of
Yeah,
these things and you go like, I'm just going to draw a little Sonic real quick. It's like
oh, that's
when,
part of the appeal.
as you say, like when you were younger and
Mm.
someone noticed you could draw, and they would either say like, draw me, or they would tell me that they could draw Garfield,
Yeah, yeah.
and they never could. But yeah, it was always one of those
Oh,
two. But yeah, like that was the amount of times I drew Sonic as a kid, just traced it off my pajamas.
oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it was like I learned how to draw a bit from Ninja Turtles,
Mhm.
but that was so beyond what I could do as an 8-year-old
Yeah.
or a 9-year-old. Um, so that was the one where I really remember taking sheets of paper, putting because the British turtle comics were very weird.
Mhm.
It was half and half reprints of the Archie comics, which were already quite weird
Mhm.
once they stopped adapting the cartoon. That turns out because they didn't have the rights to do that. So apparently, when they started, they thought, "Yeah, we're adapting the cartoon," and they adapted it great. They had
Mm.
great artists working on it. They weren't. It was no screenshot nonsense. It
Mhm.
was drawing from the start.
Yeah.
And then the people involved in writing the cartoon found out and said, "You don't have the
Yeah, we should
you're
be
not
paid
allowed
for
to do
that
it."
technically.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, right, okay." So then suddenly
I didn't
Archie
know that.
Turtles just goes off into absolutely a bonkers world.
I did
But
not know that. That's wild.
yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. I've still got all my old issues. Um, and then because that was monthly,
Mhm.
and in the UK it was coming out every once a fortnight,
Mhm.
every few issues they'd have a British drawn thing in between.
Yeah.
And that's where I first saw Richard Elson because he drew for a few of those.
Right. Okay.
But these were just like little throwaway stories. So you'd have puzzles suddenly in the middle, and
Right.
um, and then it was all hand painted and stuff, which
Yeah.
was amazing. But it was so strange. And then you'd go, so you'd have like some sort of wacky story of where a British writer is trying to do like these New York adventures and escapades,
Yeah.
and the turtles meeting like foot soldiers dressed up as girl turtles to trick them.
I was going to say like Richard Branson showing up and things like that, like
And
British
then
things.
and then you go back to the story from Archie, and they're in the middle of the Amazon forest crying about deforestation, and it was an amazing sort of like weird combination.
Man,
But
that's wild. Something I know very
yeah,
little about. I only ever was like privy to like I don't know, it'd be like the Turtles comic summer special or something like that. Like that
yeah,
was the only
yeah.
time I ever really got my hands on it. Who would you say? I mean, we've got favorite Transformer. Who's your favorite Turtle though?
That's so hard because again now I joke about being an old lady, but I am now 42, right? And as a kid, I just thought a teenager was sort of I didn't know what that meant.
Mhm.
It's just this big cool adult who can do cool
Yeah.
things and is strong and badass. And now I watch something like Mutant Mayhem or Rise of the Turtles, and I just think, my children, I want to, I want to protect you all.
Yeah.
So it genuinely cycles. It like who's my favorite this week? Oh, it's going to be Leonardo, even though he's the dweeb usually. It just it
But that's endearing. Like to me, when I was a kid, I would
yeah.
have been like, I hate Leonardo. He's so serious, you know. But I think that's like when you do grow up with this stuff, and you're probably
Mm.
supposed to grow out of it, I guess. But you, when you're 42, and you go, I can actually embody all of these turtles.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm angry,
Am I in
sometimes
a
I'm clever, sometimes I'm funny.
I'm in a Mikey mood today, you know.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
you realise at the end, like Mikey was secretly extremely good the whole time.
Yeah, that's it. I was like being young. I was so super serious about these things, though, that like
Yeah,
I
me too.
remember getting a Michelangelo action figure where he was sticking his tongue out, and I
Yeah.
hated that because it wasn't
Did you think
serious.
no,
Like
I don't
a
approve.
ninja wouldn't do that. So I ended up cutting the tongue off and I
Whoa!
painted over it with Tipex to make it just go in with the teeth.
That's like me and have you heard the story of like my first issue of STC?
Mm,
Where they also adapted like other video games into STC, you
yes.
see, and they had a Golden Axe strip,
Hmm.
and me and my brother used to play Golden Axe on the Amiga religiously. It was our favorite thing
Yeah.
to, go in, fire up two joysticks. Instead of playing the game, you beat each other up
Of
until the
course, yeah.
skeletons come. Um, but I was sort of like, there's a bit where Lizardman gets cut in half by an axe,
Yeah.
and green blood starts coming out.
Mm.
And I was like, nope. Got my red felt tip pen, and I corrected that. I was kind of like, I, despite all my shyness as a youngster, like all that genuine goblinness has come out full force nowadays, you know.
Oh no, quite
But it was
right.
always there.
Yeah, like that's like yeah. When you're young, you're like, no, I want it. It's got to be like dark and edgy as shit. Like I can't. I'm not
Yeah,
having
yeah.
this. But
And you write in your Sonic the Hedgehog fan fiction as dark. That's why I don't. My friends and Chris and my husband go, oh, I can't believe we have to take Shadow the Hedgehog serious. I'm like, hey, you telling me if Shadow the Hedgehog hadn't, if we hadn't seen Shadow the Hedgehog as a 12-year-old, we wouldn't have flippin' loved it.
yeah. Oh,
Wouldn't have just gone straight and, oh, we loved it. We loved Metal Sonic.
imagine having
Like,
the cheek, the actual cheek, to say, "Are we supposed to take Shadow the Hedgehog seriously?" When you're
I
like,
know.
all the other stuff, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
grounded,
yeah,
you know, but not
yeah.
not this guy.
No, that's why I don't know. I remember wanting to be edgy when I was young. I remember asking my mum if I could have a long black coat, even though I'm really short. It does not work. Did not work on me
Oh yeah,
visually.
I got the old Kevin Smith number at one point when I was the long coat.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember,
But
like
yeah.
Lindsay got one. She probably won't enjoy me telling this on the podcast, but when she was like 17 or so, she got for I think her Christmas like a long like silk bright kind of purple like
Mm.
gothic coat, and yeah, that was like, I think it made like one appearance out in the real world, and then it was like, no, I can't do this. You're
See,
like,
I wanted I envied goths because I didn't really have much of a visual identity as a youngster.
yeah,
You know, I didn't do the jewelry. I just t-shirt and jeans
yeah. That's, I mean,
and
that's kind of what that's. I've taken that through
trying to
to my
be
40s
invisible.
now. Yeah. What's the least conspicuous thing I can wear as someone who's 6'7"? But no. Well, thank you so much for your time on this. Like, I just
No
looked at the
worries.
time; it's flown in because
I
it's.
know we just keep nattering. That's why.
I know I'm just like, holy shit! I don't want to take up too much of your time. Also, and the fact it's like, I was like, we'll keep this one short, and now we've gone for an hour and a half. Worse than McFeely, this one.
Oh God! Oh no! That's
Um,
a, oh.
well, you've got so you've got My Little Pony work coming up soon. You're
Yes.
still in the Phoenix. You've got is there any shout outs?
Any shout outs?
Yeah.
Oh. Um. I mean, obviously I'm in the Phoenix Weekly, which is very exciting.
Hmm.
Um. Sadly, the last issue of Monster Fun is coming out
I
in
saw.
December.
Yeah, I was gutted
Yeah.
to see that. That's
We're very sad.
yeah.
But I think if you want to give it Martha's Monster Makeup a good send off,
Hmm.
you can check out. It's the last appear. I snuck Mothman into Martha's Monster Makeup a while ago, and he
Oh,
became a recurring character, and I'm very pleased.
yeah.
Um, so that's his last appearance too with
Oh,
her.
it's
But
honestly so sad to see. It's especially something that's like
I know,
beloved and for kids. You're like, oh, come
yeah.
on.
But you can still get me in the Phoenix all the time. The Rise of Cadence is out in January, I believe.
Hmm.
After that, the other things I'm working on are kind of a bit further away now, but
Okay.
uh,
Being very
I'm
stoic about all this. You
yeah.
gonna think
I hope,
have a few secrets?
hope yeah. Hopefully, I can see everyone at TFN Manchester next time that's on.
Yep, we'll be there again.
Um,
I'm a little gutted that because I was like talking to my friend Jake today, who lives in China, and he comes over to TFN. That's twice they've been over,
oh, that's great.
and it was like, "Are you going to the minicon in Reading?" And I'm like, "No, that's too far away."
It's too far away.
And I'm like, "Oh wait, I'm telling the guy who comes from China that Reading is too far away, but it is." So I'm just gonna.
It is. It is when it's this cold as well.
I know. I just feel bad. Like everyone's like the Toy Food team are all getting ready, and I'm like, who's
Oh,
going to be on the TMUK table?
it's like everyone's having a party without us, you know.
Do you know this is better. Don't worry about it. Well, again, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Well, thank
We
you.
can find you on, I don't know, Blue Sky.
Well, Blue Sky, Blue Sky. Just look up Abby Bulmer on Blue Sky. You'll find me pretty quick.
Nice. Uh,
It seems to be the safest place right now.
do you know what? I'm quite enjoying it.
It's nice.
Nice place to talk rubbish again.
I've been
I miss talking
I've been
rubbish.
looking at art.
Yeah,
I keep scrolling through and I see people's artwork. It's lovely, and I'm not getting advertised at every 2 seconds,
yeah. It's nice to see like
it's
people that I liked.
not obviously evil.
Yeah, not overtly evil. No.
Yeah.
But it's so good to like when someone will be like, "This person has followed you," and you're like, "Oh shit, great! That's
Yeah, yeah.
I'll get to
It's
look at their art
nice.
again." And yeah, very very good.
Yeah. No, it has been. That's the main place I go to. Um, it's the main place I'm posting sketches and stuff when I've got time.
Yeah. Oh well, I'll see that humble brag. Sometimes when I've got time, I've got all these important projects. Um, okay. Well, thanks again, and we'll
Oh, thank
for
you.
everyone listening. Thank you for listening to the Secret Hot Tub Podcast, and we'll see you next time.